It's confusing, isn't it? How a woman can light up your phone one day and then go cold the moment you start showing genuine interest. And if this is you, maybe you've asked yourself the same quiet question every man asks in the dark of. Why does it feel like the more I care, the faster she pulls away? Maybe this feels familiar. You meet someone, the chemistry hits instantly, and for the first time in a long time, you actually want something real. You text back with energy, you make time for her, you show her the version of yourself that's ready to commit, and suddenly, out of nowhere, she becomes distant. Short replies, delayed responses, interest evaporating like it was never there. And you sit there wondering if you did something wrong or if caring too much is the exact thing that pushed her away. You replay conversations in your head. You analyze every message. You start questioning your worth, thinking, why does she chase the guy who gives her nothing, but withdraw from the one who's ready to show up? If this is you, you're not broken and you're not alone. There is a psychological reason women prefer men who aren't fully interested in them. But what if it's not about her, and it's actually revealing something about you? Most men misunderstand this entire situation because they approach interest with thus as emotion, not with us or his intent. When a man finally meets a woman he likes, he pours himself into her. He texts constantly, he over-explains, he tries to prove why he's worth choosing, and he doesn't realize he's doing the very thing that kills her attraction. He abandons his own center. Here's the truth most men never hear. Women don't pull away because you care. They pull away because your caring becomes thus neediness, and neediness is simply the absence of self-possession. A man loses himself the moment he makes a woman his emotional mission instead of staying rooted in his own. Think of it like this. When you're not interested, you're calm, composed, focused on your life. You're not trying to impress. You're not trying to chase. You're not bending your identity for approval. And whether you realize it or not, that energy is what women respond to. Not the distance, but the VAR's self-respect behind that distance. Two masculine principles apply here. First, a man must remain the source of his own validation. The second you rely on her attention to feel worthy, you give away the very thing that makes you attractive. Second, masculine energy leads by presence, not pursuit. When your world doesn't collapse without her, she finally feels safe stepping into it. Most guys were taught the opposite, that showing more interest equals more attraction. But interest without boundaries becomes pressure, and pressure makes her retreat, not commit. The men she gravitates toward aren't better than you. They're just anchored. They don't lose themselves the moment a woman shows up. And once you understand that, you stop chasing women who withdraw and start becoming the type of man they naturally move toward. He remembers the night vividly, not because anything dramatic happened, but because of the silence. The kind of silence that sits heavy in your chest. They were walking down a dimly lit street, the kind where the orange glow of streetlights makes everything feel slowed down. She was next to him, close enough that he could hear her soft breathing, far enough that he could feel the distance she wasn't saying out loud. Earlier that week, she had been different, laughing at his messages, leaning in when he talked, asking little questions that made him feel chosen. And for the first time in a long time, he let himself open up. He showed effort. He showed interest. He let her see the part of him that wanted something real. But tonight, she kept glancing at her phone, her attention flickering like a weak signal. He tried to act normal, but inside, something twisted. Why does she pull closer when I don't care and drift away the moment I actually show up? What am I doing wrong? They reached a quiet corner, and she stopped walking. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the same move she used to make when she was flirting. This time, it felt like goodbye. He nodded, pretending he understood, pretending he wasn't replaying every moment in his mind. Was I too available? Too eager? Did she lose interest the moment I showed mine? As she walked away, the cool night air hit him harder than it should have. And in that moment, he realized something painful. She wasn't running from him. She was running from the version of him that appeared the moment he started needing her. Because the man she was drawn to, the grounded, centered, self-contained version, vanished the second he tried to win her. And deep down, he knew she felt the shift long before he did. Most men walk around with beliefs that quietly sabotage their chances with women, and they don't even realize it. One of the biggest lies you've been taught is this: if I show her how much I care, she'll appreciate me more. But here's the wake-up call. Women don't fall for effort, they fall for energy. Effort without presence feels like pressure. When you rush to prove your value, you accidentally communicate the opposite, that you don't believe you have any. Another false belief is thinking that a woman pulling away means you need to try harder, so you double text. You initiate constantly. You chase a version of her that existed only when you were calm, relaxed, and not trying to win something. But the truth is simple. She didn't lose interest. You lost your center. Women don't prefer men who aren't interested. They prefer men whose self-worth isn't up for negotiation. The moment she senses that your emotional stability depends on her, attraction drops, not because she's cruel, but because it signals insecurity. And the third belief that ruins everything is thinking that distance equals disinterest. Sometimes a woman steps back because she's testing something you don't even notice. Are you a man rooted in who he is, or are you a man who collapses the moment attention fades? Most guys collapse. They over-explain, over-pursue, over-invest, trying to fix something that didn't break until they touched it. The truth is, women move toward men who remain grounded, not men who panic. Your calm is more attractive than your compliments. Once you understand this, everything shifts. You stop chasing validation and start living from a place where connection becomes a choice, not a lifeline. And that's the man she actually wants to follow. The 1% headman moves differently because his mindset is built on self-respect, not reaction. While most men crumble the moment a woman's interest wavers, he stays rooted. He doesn't chase, not because he's playing games, but because he's anchored in who he is. This is what he understands. Attraction isn't created by proving yourself. It's created by remaining yourself. When a woman pulls back, he doesn't panic or spiral into self-doubt. He sees it for what it is, a moment for him to stay centered. This is how he leads with presence, not pressure. He keeps his energy calm. He keeps his purpose intact. He refuses to abandon his identity just to keep someone else comfortable. The 1% headman knows that real magnetism comes from a man who values his own attention. He knows that the moment he becomes needy, he becomes forgettable. Not because he's unworthy, but because he traded his strength for validation. And that's a trade he never makes. He isn't afraid of losing her. He's afraid of losing himself, so he stays grounded. He moves slowly. He chooses intentionally. And in doing so, he becomes the rare man a woman feels safe moving toward, not because he withholds interest, but because his interest never costs him his center. It happens in a quiet moment, not during an argument, not after a rejection, but in the soft stillness where your thoughts finally stop running. You're sitting alone in phone face down, and for the first time in a long while, you're not checking it, not waiting for her name to light it up, not wondering what you did wrong, just breathing. And in that silence, something shifts. You start replaying the past weeks, not through the lens of longing, but through the lens of truth. You see how your tone changed, how your energy tightened, how you went from a man with a life to a man hoping for permission to matter. You remember who you were before you cared too much, the quiet confidence, the steady steps, the way your world felt like yours. And suddenly it hits you like a slow, warm realization. She didn't prefer the man who wasn't interested. She preferred the man you were before you forgot yourself. Your chest loosens, your breath deepens. And for the first time, you're not trying to get her back. You're trying to get you back. This is the turning point. Not the moment you stop loving her, but the moment you stop abandoning yourself. You rise from that seat a little taller, not because she returned your energy, but because you did. In the end, it was never about women preferring men who don't care. It was about women feeling drawn to the version of you that didn't chase, didn't shrink, didn't lose himself the moment he felt something real. The man who moved slowly, breathed deeply, and stayed grounded in his own worth. That's the man she trusted, the man she leaned toward, the man she noticed without you ever trying. You don't need distance to attract her. You need presence to attract yourself again. Because the truth you carry from this moment forward is simple. She follows the man who refuses to abandon himself.